The gym smelled of iron and regret. A place where I thought I could sweat out the ache of losing Jamie. 3 months ago, he walked out of my life, leaving nothing but a half-empty coffee mug and a note that said, "I can't do this anymore." Now, here I was, Lucas Harper, 24, trying to bench press my heartbreak away in a small-town Colorado gym, only to hear a voice behind me murmur, "Bend lower. Man, you're gonna hurt yourself." I froze mid-squat, the barbell wobbling on my shoulders. That voice low, smooth, with a hint of a laugh felt like a punch I hadn't braced for. I glanced up into the mirror and saw him, Ethan Caldwell, Jamie's older brother, leaning casually against a rack of dumbbells. His hazel eyes locked on mine with an intensity that made my stomach flip. Ethan, the guy who'd always been a shadow in Jamie's life. The one I'd barely spoken to at family dinners. What the hell was he doing here? "You're not keeping your back straight," he said, stepping closer, his sneakers silent on the rubber floor. "Let me spot you." Before I could protest, his hands were on the bar, steadying it, his presence warm and solid behind me. I wanted to snap that I didn't need help, that I came here to forget his damn brother, not to deal with a Caldwell family reunion. But the words stuck in my throat as his fingers brushed my shoulder, adjusting my form with a gentleness that felt personal. I'd moved to this quiet corner of Fort Collins to escape the memories of Denver, where Jamie and I had built a lifer, so I thought. We'd been together for 2 years, sharing a cramped apartment, late-night talks, and dreams of a future that felt certain until it wasn't. Jamie's leaving had been a slow burn, the arguments, the silences, the way he'd look at me like I was a stranger. When he finally left, I didn't cry. I packed my bags, quit my barista job, and drove north, thinking a new town and a gym membership could stitch me back together. The gym was my sanctuary, a place to drown out the noise in my head. But now, Ethan was here, his breath close enough to feel on the back of my neck as he said, "Good. Now push through your heels." His voice wasn't just instructional, it carried a warmth that made my skin prickle. I lowered the bar, my legs shaking not from the weight, but from the way he stood so close, his gaze never leaving me in the mirror. "Why are you here, Ethan?" I finally managed, setting the bar back on the rack with a clang. I turned to face him, wiping sweat from my brow. He was taller than Jamie, broader, with a jawline that caught the gym's fluorescent light in a way that was unfairly distracting. His flannel shirt was rolled up to his elbows, revealing forearms that looked like they could lift me and the barbell without breaking a sweat. He shrugged, a half-smile tugging at his lips. "Same reason as you, I guess. Needed a change. Denver was too much." His eyes flickered with something grief. Maybe. Or guilt. I remembered Jamie mentioning Ethan had his own struggles. Something about a fallout with their parents. But I'd never pried. Jamie had been the golden boy, the one who could do no wrong, while Ethan was the quiet one, always on the sidelines. "You didn't answer my question," I said, crossing my arms. "Why are you here? Spotting me, acting like we're buddies." My voice was sharper than I meant, but I was raw, and Ethan's presence felt like salt in a wound I was still trying to close. His smile faded, and he ran a hand through his dark hair, the same shade as Jamie's, but messier, like he didn't care to tame it. "Look, Lucas, I know about you and Jamie. He told me everything. I'm not here to mess with you. I just saw you struggling." And he hesitated, his eyes searching mine. "I don't know. Maybe I just wanted to talk to someone who gets it." "Gets what?" I snapped, but my heart wasn't in it. There was something in his tone, a crack in his usual calm, that made me pause. Did he mean Jamie's leaving? Or something deeper? I didn't know Ethan well, but I'd seen him at enough family gatherings to know he wasn't the type to open up easily. Yet here he was, looking at me like I held answers he needed. Before he could answer, the gym's closing bell rang, a harsh chime that broke the tension. Ethan glanced at his watch, then back at me. Come on, let's grab a drink. There's a bar across the street. You look like you could use one. I should have said no. I should have grabbed my bag and walked away. But there was something in his eyes, something that felt like a lifeline in the storm of my own grief. So I nodded. And as we stepped out into the chilly Colorado night, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was the start of something I wasn't ready for. The bar was a dive, all sticky tables and neon signs, but it felt safe in its dimness. We slid into a booth, Ethan ordering a beer while I stuck with water, still wary of letting my guard down. The jukebox played some old Springsteen song, and for a moment, we just sat there, the silence between us heavy but not uncomfortable. Jamie didn't deserve you, Ethan said suddenly, his voice low, like he was confessing something. I blinked, caught off guard. He leaned forward, his elbows on the table, his gaze steady. He told me how he ended things, how he just left. That was a coward's move. I laughed, bitter and sharp. Yeah, well, I wasn't exactly perfect either. Maybe I pushed him too hard, wanted too much. I stared at my glass, the condensation dripping onto my fingers. I thought we were building something real, you know. But he just walked away. Ethan's jaw tightened, and he took a long sip of his beer. Jamie's always been good at running. From me. From our parents. From anything that feels too heavy. But you. He paused, his eyes softening. You're still here. Fighting. That's more than he ever did. His words hit harder than I expected, stirring something in me I hadn't felt in months. Hope. Maybe. Or just the flicker of being seen. I looked at him. Really looked. And noticed the way his hands fidgeted with the bottle label. The way his eyes held mine like he was afraid I'd disappear. Was he here because of Jamie? Or was there something else pulling us together? Ethan, why are you really here? I asked again, softer this time. You didn't just stumble into my gym. You're not that guy. He leaned back, exhaling like he'd been holding his breath. Truth. I've been in Fort Collins for a month. Working construction. I saw you at the gym last week. And I don't know. Lucas. I couldn't stop watching you. You looked like you were carrying the same weight I was. His voice dropped, almost a whisper. I thought maybe we could help each other. My heart stuttered. This wasn't just about Jamie anymore. There was a pull between us. A current I hadn't felt since the early days with Jamie, when everything was new and electric. But this was different, slower, deeper, like a fire that could warm you or burn you if you got too close. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. A text from Jamie. The first in months. Hey, I'm in town. Can we talk? My stomach dropped, and I glanced at Ethan, who was watching me with an expression I couldn't read. The past and the present were colliding, and I had no idea which way to turn. The next morning, I woke to the memory of Ethan's voice, his hand on my shoulder, and Jamie's text burning a hole in my pocket. I didn't reply to Jamie. I couldn't, not yet. Instead, I found myself back at the gym, hoping Ethan would be there, dreading that he wouldn't. When I saw him by the treadmills, adjusting his earbuds with that same easy smile, relief washed over me like a wave. Hey, stranger, he called, jogging over, back for more punishment. His tone was light, but his eyes searched mine, like he knew something had shifted. I forced a grin. Can't stay away. You spotting me again? Or am I on my own? He laughed, and just like that, we fell into a rhythm, lifting, spotting, trading banter like we'd known each other for years. But every time his hand brushed mine or his gaze lingered, my heart raced, and I wondered if he felt it too. Was this just friendship? A shared wound binding us? Or was it something more? Over the next week, Ethan became a constant. We'd work out, grab coffee, talk about everything but Jamie music, movies, the way the mountains looked at dawn. He told me about his fallout with their parents, how they'd never accepted him after he came out as bi years ago. It was why he'd left Denver, why he'd kept his distance from Jamie. I didn't want to be the family screw-up, he said one night, his voice raw. But I guess I am anyway. You're not, I said, surprising myself with how much I meant it. You're the opposite. I wanted to say more, to tell him how his quiet strength made me feel safe. But the words wouldn't come. Instead, I reached for his hand, just for a second, and the warmth of his skin sent a jolt through me. Then Jamie showed up. It was a Sunday, the gym nearly empty. I was mid-set when the door swung open, and there he was, Jamie, all sharp cheekbones and nervous energy, his eyes finding me like a missile. "Lucas," he said, his voice cutting through the hum of the treadmill. "I need to talk to you." Ethan, spotting me, froze. His hands tightened on the bar, and I saw the flash of something anger, maybe, or fear in his eyes. Jamie didn't even glance at him. His focus locked on me. "I messed up," Jamie said, stepping closer. "I shouldn't have left. I want to try again." The air felt thick, like I couldn't breathe. Jamie, the man I'd loved, was standing there, offering me the closure I'd craved. But Ethan was behind me, his presence a quiet anchor. And I realized I didn't want closure anymore. I wanted something new. "Jamie," I said, my voice steady despite the chaos in my chest. "You don't get to just walk back in." I set the bar down, turning to face him fully. "You left. You broke us. And I'm not the same person anymore." Jamie's face crumpled. But before he could respond, Ethan stepped forward. "He's right," he said, his voice low but firm. "You don't get to hurt him twice." The protectiveness in his tone sent a shiver down my spine. And for the first time, I saw Jamie flinch, like he was seeing his brother in a new light. The gym fell silent, the tension thick enough to choke on. Jamie looked between us, his eyes narrowing. "What's this?" he asked, his voice sharp. "You and Ethan? Seriously?" I didn't answer. I didn't know him one. But as I glanced at Ethan, his jaw set, his eyes never leaving mine, I knew what I wanted. And it wasn't Jamie. Days turned into weeks, and Jamie's visit faded like a bad dream. Ethan and I grew closer, our workouts turning into late-night talks, our talks turning into moments where our hands lingered too long, our smiles too soft. One night, under a sky full of stars, he kissed me outside the gym, his lips warm and certain, like he'd been waiting for this as long as I had. "I didn't plan this," he whispered, his forehead against mine. "But I'm not sorry." "Me neither," I said, and for the first time in months, I felt whole. The gym, once a place to forget, became a place to find myself. Ethan, and a love I never expected. Jamie's shadow lingered, but it was just theta shadow, no match for the light we'd built together. And as Ethan spotted me through another set, his voice teasing, "Bend lower. Lucas." I knew I'd found something worth fighting for.